give a round of applause for our co-sponsor of this event, who I fumbled on her name, and I'm never going to hear the end of it. Giadha, welcome. Welcome. I'm so sorry.
You nailed it.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Also known as G. Much easier. You can't forget that one. Big G, little g, whichever it's going to be. Well, hello. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be in Toronto. It's wonderful to be here with our partners, Benzinga. I think they've done a fabulous job, so if we maybe should give them a little hand. It is a pleasure to partner with professionals that know what they're doing, that sort of, everything is literally like we say in Italy, it's a Swiss clock. I think that's the right translation. So today, I'm not going to take all 2 hours. I'm actually going to speak for just 15 minutes, and I'm going to talk data to you. I would like to share a little bit of not just what we do, but how big data is critical to the continued growth of the cannabis industry, not only in the US and Canada and North America, but globally. So I'll show a little bit of what data can say to you and how it can help you. But also overall, I would like to keep in mind, I would like you to keep in mind through the presentation that this is a nascent industry. The epicenter certainly is here in North America, Canada, and US. But there is a lot going on around, and we're still trying to figure out what that is. And without data, we would have zero transparency into that, zero ability to quantify risk and opportunities. So I hope that you all continue to engage with sharing and leveraging data, whether it is from us or not, preferably from us. But if not, just get your intel. It is a very nuanced and complicated industry. And this is the global phenomenon of cannabis. I started this company in August of 2014. I remember at the time there was a lot of buzz because Colorado was going to legalize adult use cannabis, very much like you're just experiencing here in Canada. Mind you, there were only 8 states at the time, and Canada. There are now over 60 countries around the world that are either decriminalizing or full-on legalizing cannabis. That truly does constitute a global phenomenon. What do we do? Yes, we do big data, but what do we really want to accomplish? Our mission is to elevate the discussion around the cannabis industry by providing unbiased, objective, vetted, quantifiable, qualitative information. We want to bring transparency to this space in a responsible and objective manner. Our vision, we want to be the nexus of data around the globe when it comes to cannabis. If it's cannabis and it's data, we want to touch it. And so far, I'm proud to say that thanks to the amazing team we have on board, we are already in over 69 countries, or at least our data is. And we have an earned media reach of 4.8 billion. So we're very, very fortunate to have been, for our data and analysis to have been so well received around the globe. It also speaks to the appetite around the globe for cannabis data. So how do we do this? I'm an analyst by training. I like to say I'm a recovering banker. I went from finance and analytics to intelligence analytics, doing SIGINT and human collection, where the protocols of data ingestion and the process to maintain the integrity of the data is extremely important in order to produce viable, actionable intelligence. When we entered the cannabis industry, we were found with quite a few challenges, only one of which was that the data was fractured, it was fragmented, it was imperfect, no standard. Also, as an analyst, it was very difficult to apply mature models of analysis, those found in tobacco. I mean, you name it, whatever you want to compare cannabis to, it's not the same. It's not tobacco, it's not corn, it's not coffee, it's not sugar, it's not alcohol, and it's not pharma. It is a plant that does, however, impact many of those areas. It has medical impact, it has recreational impact, and it has, of course, industrial applications as well. So we have to figure out a way to still be able to produce and serve the market with information that was accurate without actually having access to the usual things that we have access to in other mature industries. So we created a what we call the 5-dimensional model. What is critical in the industry, no matter where? It doesn't matter if it's in the United States, it doesn't matter if it's in Canada, it doesn't matter if it's around the globe. There are 5 elements that are critical to getting a holistic, comprehensive view of the ever-changing market that is cannabis. Federal regulation, of course. Local regulation. The US is not the only one where there's a lot of discrepancy between local, city level, county level, and federal level. Of course, we're going to look at anyone that touches the plant: cultivation, processing, extraction, and retail. Consumers and patients, extremely important, of course. And last but not least, ancillary services, which may I add that in the United States, the ancillary sector is probably the most challenging to follow. Because in 2014, you were pretty sure you knew who it was in cannabis or not. You know, if there was a special ancillary service that put blinds in for cannabis company, they were called MJ blinds, and you were pretty easy to, you know, you could spot them. Well, that is no longer the case. We are now seeing very sophisticated enterprise level solutions entering the market, diversifying into the market. So measuring and tracking the ancillary segment, I would say, is probably one of the more challenging things that we do. But we do it. We ingest millions of data points around various data, series of data across these 5 areas, and we endeavor to bring as comprehensive a view into the industry as we can. So now let's talk data that affects you, that impacts you, that I'm sure you're interested. It's no surprise to anyone here, I hope, that North America is indeed the epicenter of cannabis today. What does it look like from a quantifiable perspective? As you can see here in 2017, which was last year, we ended with about 500,000. And this year, we project that both medical and adult use would add up to about 1.3 billion. Of that 1.3 billion, mind you, only 0.4, I guess 400 million, are going to be on the adult use side. If you fast forward to 2025, the market would have grown to 6 billion. But what's interesting here is to see how the adult use segment would grow, and we expect will grow relative to the medical segment. As you can see, and this happened in the United States as well, the adult use market, at least within a 5 to 10 year period, overcomes medical. Now, I will put in a caveat. That does not mean that it will continue to be the case beyond 5 to 10 years. And as I said, predictability and projections get better and better as the data gets better and as we have more historical view into it. But if we think about it, especially with some of the shifts that are happening globally, not just in North America, some of you may have heard that the World Health Organization and the UN put out a report saying that CBD should be treated as anything else in the medical space, and pharmaceutical companies should be able to work with it. If that is the case, that might be one of those inflections points that would shift this graph, and whereby medical would take back up as being dominant. What else can we say about North America? When you look at both the US and Canada combined, now we're talking, this is why we talk about the epicenter. Between 2017 and 2025, we're going to see a growth from almost $9 billion to almost $30 billion. That's tripling in just a very short period of time. As we look around the globe, and I've already mentioned that there's a lot of activity, but let's think about the population. Over 3 billion people across the world that are seen as adult use medical and CBD users. It is, and those are the ones that we know of, because again, we don't have full transparency into consumers and potential patients in every single market. So it is certainly, whether you look at dollar signs or you look at number of customers, this market is phenomenal. So, how do we use data to help you? What are some of the things that we've been able to get visibility and, more importantly, predictability into, thanks to data, most importantly, big data? Deal flow. Lots of investors in the room. I'm sure you would want to know what that is. We have tracked over 1,183 deals. In fact, this information, may I add, is courtesy of Viridian Capital. I believe the Viridian Capital is in the room, so thank you for the data. What you can see here is that of that deal flow, about $6 billion, mind you, between 2015 and 2017, the deal flow was primarily within cultivation and retail and biotech and pharma. That trend continues as of now. It should probably continue for a little while. We're actually seeing that now that deal flow and that trend is also being reflected in other parts of the world. What about wholesale pricing? Well, given that Canada is quite the cultivating epicenter, you may have noticed that there have been a few challenges, certainly in the United States, in severe drops of flower, over 50% between January 2015 and April 2018. Incidentally, however, when you look at trim, that has gone up by 92%. And in a minute, I will show you why. How are patients treating themselves with cannabis. What is driving patient use of cannabis? This is another aspect that is extremely important as we continue to understand the market and both consumer and patient behavior. As you can see here, no surprise to anyone, pain management. I just got my mom on CBD. She had a horseback riding accident about 25 years ago, or maybe more actually. Yeah, more, because I was little. Should have said that. I'm totally 25. But she literally has been living with chronic pain for 20 years. So candidly, she didn't even think about it. When you're in pain, and it's not severe pain, but it's chronic pain, for that long, you forget what it's like to have no pain. I never thought about it. Not sure why it took me this long, but over the holidays this year, I gave her some CBD pills. Like, you know what, you should try this. She showed back up after the first day of taking them in tears. I was like, holy shit, excuse my French, what did I do? And she says to me, God bless her heart, I had forgotten what it felt like not to have pain. So it is important for us to remember what are patients using cannabis for, and clearly pain management is a huge one, followed by sleep quality and everything else that keeps you from sleeping, stress, anxiety. So very, very powerful to continue to understand just for research and product development purposes. Now, what products? Product preferences. There's a lot of innovation in product development and branding coming into the industry from enterprises, mature enterprises outside of the cannabis industry. So what they're interested in seeing, and what we see the data shows, is that interesting both in the US and Canada, people continue to prefer to smoke joints and blunts. That's great. In fact, 74%. While the other half of people have a complete mix of product. It's like they want to try it all. And that's something that should be expected in a nascent industry. People want to try different things. But that's shifting. We are seeing, let me go back. But we're also seeing that there is a shift between flower and edibles. And this is one of those reasons why you saw the increase in price of trim. Right? So we are seeing a shift starting with the US and now in Canada as well, that people are moving away from joints and blunts. So we'll see what the future brings. Now some bad news, unfortunately. As I said, we are objective information providers, so I'm going to give you the good, I'm going to give you the bad, and I'm going to give you the ugly. And the ugly is very important, because the ugly is what makes us better. The ugly is what allows us to avoid problems. Unfortunately, in California, we did a survey, pre-legalization. It was found that over 84% of the flower that was tested positive for pesticides. Now combine that with what I just said. Over 70% of consumers use flower. And we also know that California is the epicenter of cultivation for the United States. These are troublesome figures. It was also found, as you can see in the quote, that 50% of more of commercially available flowers and concentrates may contain very high levels of fungicides. Now, when you think about that and you think about children with epilepsy that take the medicine, we probably should do something about it. But at least I'm happy that we have data so that we can pinpoint to this pretty severe challenge and problem. Predictability. We all want to know what the future brings. We want to know what the future brings, and we literally spend every day and every minute trying to figure out what the future brings. And I've mentioned a couple of shifts, but of interest. The shift between flower and edibles. As you can see there, when you look at between November and February in 2017, we're talking about 55 million in edibles, 153 million in total concentrates, and still total flower over 400 million. What's interesting there, though, is what I just noted. If you look at yellow, blue, aqua, yellow is flower. What is happening is there is a shift in consumption away again from flower into concentrates. I don't want to talk too much data to you because you might fall asleep. But I will leave you with this. I'm Italian. I'm half Italian, half Cuban. Oops, sorry. I was raised in France and Spain and then came here. It's been an incredible journey to be able to travel all those countries. And I've now finally, after X number of years, been able to go back and travel the world because of this plant. It truly is phenomenal what is happening, not just here in North America, not just here in Canada, but in even smaller countries that you wouldn't even think. Africa, for instance, is starting to think about changing and repositioning sub-Saharan countries' agroeconomies by introducing hemp cultivation. Hemp, and we forget about hemp sometimes. Well, hemp is cannabis too. It's the non-psychotropic plant. Hemp has regenerative properties for soil that would be very beneficial to arid lands, such as in sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africans have not had a seat at the table in the world economy for a very long time. And yet, if they do adopt, and this is one of the studies that we're actually in the process of doing, a socioeconomic impact study for sub-Saharan countries, it could truly change and reposition and capitalize on low-tech agro labor force and economies that literally only have agriculture to grow with, and to reintroduce them, because the applications of hemp are massive, way beyond textile and CBD. There are implications and applications in construction, in automotive. In fact, BMW already uses it. In battery life extension, potentially in semiconductivity, and of course in healthcare and topicals and beauty products. So really exciting times. You are those who are driving this forward. We're just here to help you have transparency and visibility into what you continue to drive. Thank you very much for your time.